Hi, welcome to Control Talk, now your smart buildings videocast and podcast for the week ending February 5th, 2017. This is episode 217, where we talk about all things smart controls. Yeah, we even talk about dumb controls from time to time. But what is a conversation without my co-host and your co-host, the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, say it in your mind with me, Kenny Smyers, the control man from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, welcome to the show. Big dog.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. I appreciate it. I always like coming on the show every week. It's an exciting week again. There's a lot of great stuff that happened on Control Trends, and there's just no stopping progress here. 2017, it's just marching forward. We've got some big shows coming up. We've got some the Siemens thing's going to go on in March out in San Antonio, the Siemens Talent Partnership. We've got the Project Haystack 2017 down in Tampa coming up in May 8th through the 10th. We've got the ControlCon coming up in Detroit, Michigan in June, but we can't forget about EasyIO's global conference in Manchester, UK.
Cannot forget about that. And if you want to keep up with all the events you should be at, you can just go to Ken's calendar. It's down in the lower right-hand corner of Control Talk or on ControlTrends.com, and check it out, because Kenny is the man in the know, and he'll keep you informed and tell you exactly where you need to go. So here we go. Kenny's the man in the know. He'll tell you exactly where you need to go, man. I tell you what, man.
Kenny has to get. I have to get this caught up this week, because, like I say, February's gone. It's March 4th now, so we can make those February items disappear. But yeah, it's just it's a train, and a lot of good stuff going on. Then you've got the CGNA has a nice meeting coming up there in Memphis.
We're going to both be down at that meeting for sure, and that's going to be a lot of fun. And so rumor has it that you used to hang out back when you were wearing the green bell bottoms and the high-heeled shoes and hanging out in Studio 54, that you also hung out with Elvis at in the what do you call it, the Rumpus Room? What do you call that room he had downstairs where he took all the girls, Kenny, that you used to hang out with him at?
It's not me. You got the wrong person. No, I was. I've been to the Graceland, and I'll tell you what an amazing. I was a big Elvis Presley fan. He came on the scene right when I was old enough to, just starting to comprehend. I was born in '56, so that when I got to be about 10 years old, Beatles and Elvis were the two hottest items in the world
It's true that, is it true? Your brothers told me that, like in your school pictures, like in grade school and all, they would not photograph you from the waist down, kind of like what the whole Elvis thing.
No.
Because you shook your hips so much.
I'll tell you what, you were the one that was on the stage, and tell us about your musical history. You were the Greg Allman. You had long hair, and Jimi Hendrix.
I thought I was Jimi Hendrix for about 6 years, but that's a completely different time. It was the 60s, 70s, and I don't remember much of that. But but anyway, Kenny, I tell you what, we're about to get in big trouble here. We're supposed to talk about controls not being controlled. So, buddy, what do we have as our first post?
The first post was a post by the Contemporary Controls, Kathleen Thomas, marketing supervisor of Contemporary Controls, and what it was in the news, the Sedona Alliance, and the Sedona came in with Tritium back when. In fact, I got a chance to look at the history there, and what an amazing story Sedona is. The chief architect for the Sedona framework was Brian Frank, back when he worked for Tritium, and of course we all know that Jerry Frank, who basically was the father of Tritium, and he's a member of our Hall of Fame from the New York 2013 show. But the Sedona framework has much the same look of the Niagara framework. It's no accident. Brian Frank was the chief architect also of the Niagara framework. But it was the Sedona development was in some ways to make a mini Niagara for resource-limited devices. It also envisioned that a Sedona device would be able to operate with less than 100 KB of memory space. And another attribute was that it could communicate over a 6 low wideband wireless network using a GENIC chip. I mean, that's the technical background to it. But
yeah, so basically, real quick, just the relevance of this, because I think it's very relevant, Kenny, is that you could pretty much take any device, put one of these little chips on it, you could talk to and communicate with it. So if you wanted to have a camera or a light bulb or whatever, using the Sedona framework, which uses the Niagara wire sheet to program, right? You can set up and program and make basically dumb devices smart. Is that the gist of it?
Well, yeah. And so there was a vision to create a solution that would enable rapid development of small, low-cost embedded devices, many of which would wind up being connected to the Niagara system and engineered with Niagara tools. But you're right. And so it was a great origin, and it's got another pulse. It's not going away. Apparently, you've got the Sedona organization, the alliance there, and you've got some big players in there: EasyIO, Contemporary Controls, BASSG, and some others that really love Sedona. It's an open framework, and Contemporary Controls, to make a long story short, has a lot of tools on their website, and if you go to the Sedona Alliance, you'll see the resources that they have available for people out there that really get it. They have the Sedona application editor available. They have all kinds of education materials. They have using Niagara Workbench as a Sedona tool. It actually has a step-by-step in the free downloads. So compliments to Contemporary Controls for keeping us up and keeping us open.
They're absolutely doing it, buddy. They're absolutely doing it. And in our next post, we were going through our video highlights from the 2016 Control Trends Awards, which were just off the chains. And we actually broke down. So we're breaking down each individual award so you can sort of see what's what. But we did the Hall of Fame inductees, and we had 3 of them this year, Ken. We had Jack McGowan, Steve Busby, and Ken Sinclair. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about our famous Hall of Fame inductees this year.
Okay, well, this is a BACnet year, I think. BACnet International, of course, was our event sponsors at the 2016 Control Trends Awards in Las Vegas. So we really got to meet some of the main players in the BACnet International organization. Of course, Andy McMillan being first and foremost. But the history of BACnet is so incredible because we also have pieced together the American champion of BACnet. That was the gentleman from where was that?
Michael Newman, right?
No, but Cornell University. Okay. Yeah, Michael Newman. Yeah, Michael K. Newman. He was from Cornell. He was the American champion. And then Hans Kranz from Germany. He was the European and the BACnet International champion. So these two gentlemen kept meeting together, kept really churning and keeping everybody organized and on topic. And then we had Steve Bushby. So we found out what his piece was that in the industries, it's very healthy and very desirable for an industry to self-regulate itself because the federal government can't come in and really, it doesn't have the desire and the impetus to do it, but it wants it done. So it encourages standards. And so this ASHRAE driven BACnet standard became one of the most important protocols in building automation and in building HVAC. And for now, we see it even getting the BACnet, the BTL rating, or BACnet, BTL, BACnet lab testing. So the BACnet testing laboratory is it's an amazing symbol because if you see that on a control, it means it's been tested through the BACnet testing laboratory, that it will work with everybody else's BACnet. It plays nice and works. So this was a very important development for the government. So the government has not only GSA has a zillion buildings, but it kind of supported the BACnet protocol being developed. And Steve Bushby, who was in the Hall of Fame this year as well, was another major component. So we had the European version, we had the American version with Michael Newman, and then we had the guy behind the curtains at the government, where he said his boss told him, and he shared that at the show, that he goes, "You're really making you don't know how important what you're working on and what an impact it's going to make." Back when he started. So just a great capture of history. And that's what the Hall of Fame is all about, was to get these people that have done so much for our industry that really aren't recognized, and people don't know their names or don't know it, but everybody's using the benefits of what they did. So it was just a great night. We see Andy McMillan, we see Ken St. Clair. Ken St. Clair was also inducted to the Hall of Fame, and that was a good part of it. It was a surprise. We had determined that he was a Hall of Fame candidate about mid-year, but we had to keep it quiet because we wanted to really truly give him a surprise. So that was our 3 candidates, where the Andy McMillan gave his award, the BACnet International Award, to Steve Bushby, who also was inducted to the Hall of Fame. Then we had Jack McGowan, who is a pioneer in many ways, in energy especially, and Ken St. Clair. So those were our 3 Hall of Fame entries this year, and the Hall of Fame is getting bigger and better and more important. So we really appreciate everybody that supports us on that too. By the way, we got some big things planned for that later on.
We sure do. And of course, Jack McGowan was ex-Honeywell guy. Kenny, as a matter of fact, I think he set us up on the Honeywell DDC product line way back in the day, the first iteration of it. Probably did you guys as well. So Jack has been around for a while, good guy. And then again, Steve Bushby. Am I saying it right? Steve
Bushby, yes.
Bushby. What great accolades for him. And then, of course, our friend Kent and mentor Ken Sinclair. So I'll tell you what, we got, let's go to this next post real quick. It's part of Ken's calendar. And then our guest is teed up and ready to come on the show. So let's talk real quickly about the MENA CMO 2017.
Well, this is an international event. It's May 15th and 16th in Dubai, UAE. And, so what they say is that if you really truly want to get out and get involved in what's going on, there are these organizations that put on these great functions that bring the leaders from all the fields into one place, and you get an incredible Cliff Note version of what's going on. So the consumers of tomorrow is one of the primary focuses. So we know that IoT is changing everything. It's changing our industry. But the real concern is the user experience, the interface. What makes people happy in their workspace, what makes an application successful is how the user experiences it. So this is a nice meeting to get you up to speed of the consumer of tomorrow and how to get your return on investment.
Talking about tomorrow, Kenny, I mean, I don't know that you caught this or not, but they have already designed a city for 2077, I think it is, 2077, a city on Mars. The folks in Dubai are already starting to design that. So, to talk about forward thinking, I don't know that I want to go to Mars or not, but it's kind of a cool thing. And hey, speaking of that, Kenny, our guest is teed up and ready to go. So how about introducing our good friend, Jason Houck?
I'd love to, Eric. We've got Jason Houck. He's the Chief Information Officer at Hepta Systems and also the Panel Shop. Jason's one of the sharpest knives in the drawer. He's a young gun. He was just an incredibly prodigious mind at a early age, a great role model. Jason, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show, Jason.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Man, it's awesome to have you, buddy. Awesome to have you. So let's just sort of start right at the beginning, man. I mean, Hepta Systems, we know your dad very, very well. Both of you guys, as well as your brothers, are extremely well thought of. Hepta Systems has won numerous awards as a master systems integrator for the projects you've done. And as a matter of fact, you guys were one of the first Control Trends systems integrators of the year. In 2015. So give us a little bit of history of Hepta Systems, if you don't mind.
So back in '93, Hepta Systems started as a multi-brand service control company. We were servicing in Ontario, Canada. A lot of the casino work, which was all multi-brand. Every site we went to was a different brand it was Automated Logic to CB, Johnson Controls, Honeywell. So we needed to really outfit our tool belt at that time. As we grew as a company, we found the industry was moving to an IT-centric world. We brought on an IT department early. It was late 1990s, early 2000s when we started that. And I feel that's really helped us grow into the company that we are today. As in 2010, we opened up into Michigan. And that's really broadened our horizons on what our capabilities are. We got tied in with some really great customers, allowed us to grow, allowed us to take our vision of what an integrated facility is, and show that to the world as well, which is really great. And it's allowed us to integrate systems all the way from elevators to lighting control. Any HVAC, generators, electrical metering, all into that single dashboard and platform, which is, hey, it's been a roller coaster and it's been a fun learning and a fun ride.
Well, go ahead, Kenny.
Well, you brought so many questions to bear with that, because I think when you talk about elevators and you talk about all the intricacies, all those silos, the old traditional way we explained how everybody had a proprietary system, what the difference of a master systems integrator versus a systems integrator, how would you go about to explain that?
I would say, so a systems integrator is used to working with singular systems, right? They've got their bag of tricks. They've got their JCI or Honeywell system that they're used to working with all the time. Where a master systems integrator has that open, clean slate overview as, hey, throw the systems at me and let's make them work. If it's an open API, software development team in-house to take care of that. If it's a whole slew of Modbus EPMS system in a data center, it's sitting down and hashing that out. It's knowing proprietary protocols and certain systems that are, say, open BACnet, but they're locked down at the software level.
Well, great, because I'm on your website right now, and it's a fabulous website, by the way, at heptasystems.com. But even this illustration on the one campus Martius project, I get a real sense of what you're saying there, because you just on your dashboard, you've got the total kW usage, you've got the gas detection alarms present, you've got the data center, the fire alarm. Very few systems integrators can mess around with that high level of integration. So it's quite a compliment for the Hepta Systems.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's a mix of you got some train tracer COM4 there, Liebert units, 150 electrical meters throughout the floors. There's a Caterpillar generator. It's a real mixed bag. A Siemens fire alarm system. It was a fun project to do. That was one that we took on, and it was start to finish in 90 days. It was actually a retrofit and integration. 750 zones. Some air handler control, full integration, 150 meters in 90 days. That was cooking.
That's amazing, Jason. So let me ask you something. So, Ken and I are just a little bit older than you, but a lot younger than your dad, at least in spirit. But so when Ken and I came up, the name of the game was, proprietary systems. You went on bid day, you get your product in, and then you make it up on service, right? And so, that was just the way it went to market. So what sort of because you guys, the lid sort of has been blown off of that, or it's been coming, but you guys have stepped in such a big way that people that are even still quote unquote proprietary, you guys are able to come in and integrate their systems and open them up. What sort of resistance have you met with, or have you met with resistance, or have people been helpful? And do you, because obviously you guys got to, some of these companies look like the Antichrist, I'm guessing.
Yeah. And it's not as much of a resistance as a, hey, oh, wow, I didn't know, right? Like, it's after the 15-year relationship with somebody where you were vendor locked that you found out that you were vendor locked and that there were solutions out there. It's an education thing with the owners and the design teams and saying, hey, let's design these systems properly to begin with, to make sure that our lighting system and fire alarm and HVAC and all these even IT systems can communicate together. And the big thing with open systems, people say BACnet, right? BACnet is open, but there's still a lot of, like you say, that proprietary out there where they can be BACnet, but you're only buying their product from them, so you're vendor locked still, and their software licensing is still vendor locked. So it's an education thing, and it's being aware of the product that you're purchasing. That's where we work a lot of times with as a vendor rep. Well, not a vendor rep, sorry, an owner rep, to make sure that when they're buying technology that we review it and we dig deep into it and see what's actually under the hood.
Well, because it seems like the owners are the educated owners are the ones that are really driving this. Now we're seeing more and more consulting engineers that are getting on board. I know a guy that you and I are both familiar with in Atlanta, Donnie Walker at Newcomb and Boyd is one of these. Ken and I call them enlightened engineers that sort of get it. But for so many years, because the vendors didn't want to change it, they're not going to go in and tell you that, hey, you can open this up where you have a bunch of choice. Most of the consulting engineers, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So they have a spec that the trained guys given them for years and years to work with. So it almost seems like it really is the owners that are driving this for the most part, and a few enlightened consulting engineers. So sort of that being said, would you agree with that? And if you do, what advice do you give an owner if they got a project that's getting ready to come out of the ground, or even a retrofit?
I totally agree with your statement there that the group that is pushing this openness and integrated facility is a small group. The recommendation to an owner: do your homework. Get somebody on your team that you can trust, that has a vested interest in your future and not just the project. Because a lot of stuff is one and done and see you later. Find that partner, that MSI that is going to be your partnership, that cares about how your building's going to operate, how you're going to manage your lighting and everything together, how your tenants are going to operate. And down the road, if you're going to integrate analytics into things, right? It's thinking about the broad spectrum of all the technologies and all the capabilities, and designing for that within regards to what you're doing today.
Yeah, and I think you said something that's really key, because I think, finding a systems integrator that is brand agnostic is a term we use, but also, your local building automation controls distributor. I mean, we do some work with you guys in Georgia. I know you work with a great one up in Michigan, Cochrane. So your distributors, pretty much, they're, for them to be relevant, they have to be brand agnostic. They have to understand the different brands and what they do. So I think that's another resource for you too as well.
Yeah, definitely. Brand agnostic is one thing. We go in looking for solutions, and those solutions may be brought together with multiple brands. It might be a mix of JCI and Honeywell and Lutron or LC&D or Blue Ridge Technologies. It may be a mix in that whole facility, but it's choosing the right technologies in the right places, not worrying about making a building all red or all blue or all Siemens.
Well, it's really good stuff, Jason. Again, the abilities that you have are very formidable, but you also are very good at the granular stuff. For instance, shifting gears to the panel shop, I'm very impressed with the abilities, the core services that you offer there, whether it's the technical support services or if you need involvement with FinStack support, the software, Niagara Analytics, Etrasim, and you can do custom graphics. Tell us how that got started and how that's going.
So a couple of years ago, we as Hepta, we changed the way we did projects because as we wanted to grow, we wanted to be able to do projects no matter where they were geographically. So we had to change the theory of engineering on a bucket. This is a visual that Ted always explains. Is you always find the controls guy in a locked electrical room with a 5-gallon bucket flipped over and his laptop on his lap, engineering the job, doing the programming, doing the graphics, stuff like that, right? So we wanted to pull that back into a controlled environment. So rather than doing that in-house, we figured, hey, we can market this to a lot of people and give this solution to a lot of people. So we started a company called the Panel Shop. Not spelled S-H-O-P. It's S-H-O-P-P-E.
That's how they spell it in Canada, right?
Yeah. Process and process. Yeah, exactly.
And shop and shope.
Yeah. So we started that up so that we could start to, do prepackaged VAVs with programming in them. Everything's out of the package, bagged and tagged, ready to go. It's got all the connectors in there. It's got a set of directions, kind of IKEA-esque, that I could basically hand that package to my wife. No offense to my wife, but she could take that and install that VAV box with the tools that are suggested in the instructions, and off she goes. But it's truthfully to make our installs and the industry's installs easier and more efficient, and to hopefully progress the industry.
I have to admit, I'm one again. I welcome everybody to the panelshop.com. It's a great website, but under the services, for instance, I'm going to bring it up here in a second. You actually do spell it out and lay it out there. There's some great illustrations on the panels. And again, how would somebody get in contact and actually engage in your services?
They can either reach out to myself, or there's an info at thepanelshop.com, or there's a couple phone numbers there. Give us a shout. We can do a consultation. Hey, we've got some canned panels that follow IT standards right on the shelf, ready to ship as well. Or we can sit down and do a design meeting with the customer or engineering firm too, because that's one thing that we've found with projects, right? They may get designed, and then when they hit the field, it gets the technicians or companies' theory on how their panels and stuff should be built, but that's something that the customer's left with at the end of the day, right?
Right.
So if you build out a campus or something like that, you're going to have, and you go out to multiple bid, you're going to have different panels at every site. So at the panel shop, what we've done with a lot of customers is we give the customer a custom SKU. So that customer now puts that SKU in their specification. So now on their acceptance, they're looking for that panel SKU. It's a UL rated panel, and it comes with, if they want a layer 3 network switch in there, or a Jace 8000 with so many IO and a certain amount of drivers, that panel comes out the same, no matter who orders it and who ships it with that SKU. And those are available at
Well, hang on. Those are definitely available through your local distributor. I know Stromquist handles them. DMS Controls handles them. Think Cochran. So your major building automation controls distributors are handling them, and we're real proud to work with that. And I think what that gives the owner, like you said, is it gives them consistency. But there's another theme I want to talk a little bit about here, Jason, that Kenny and I have been following for a while, and I butcher this term every time I say it. Ken Sinclair, I think, originally coined it, but Kenny and I have talked a lot about it. We call it co-competition?
Co-opetition. And it actually
Co-opetition.
came out of Harvard. It's a Harvard study. So
But generally, one of the trends that we're seeing, and I think you guys are a really great example of that. I know in where you guys have worked with some of our customers in Georgia. I mean, it used to be the mentality was you got kind of rat-like, you wanted it all, right? And you didn't want to help anybody else out. And here, the fact that you guys are doing these panels, it obviously helps you guys a bit. It helps people like us, but it also helps other integrators. But you guys, for example, and I'll let you speak more to this. I know Kenny's got somebody, some projects you're helping his integrators with, and you've helped with some of our integrators. You guys have like a data scientist on staff, for example, with the analytics and stuff like that. And you guys have come in with some of our integrators that wanted to handle the controls portion of it, but yet the customer required that they have a high level data analytics. And you guys kind of come in and you shake hands. You say, look, we'll handle this part. We'll be transparent to the customer, or we'll do whatever you want us to do. And so I want you to speak to that. And also, a term that Jeff Houck from AI coin, which I think is very relevant in today's market, which is we're in the integrity economy, basically meaning that, you trade on your word, and if you go in and work with somebody and then go around them or try to mess them up, I mean, you're done. Your reputation is that. And I can tell you from our experiences, you guys are totally above board. You've been great with our customers. Our customers have been happy. And so speak to that, if you would, a bit.
Yeah. With the team that we've built, we got to keep them busy, and we got to keep them on their toes. So like you mentioned, it's cooperation or whatever, whatever that was, but
it's competition. Co-opetition.
I just deliberately mispronounce that word every time because I love it when Kenny gets so excited about correcting it.
He does it on purpose.
Yeah. Right, but we're good old boy Canadians at heart, right? So it's a deal done on a handshake and going in. But yeah, we enjoy coming in and helping out contractors, bringing their customers to the level of what their expectations are. We've got a great analytics department with a team of 4 there. We're doing Sky Foundry analytics and as well as Niagara analytics in there. A lot of great work, a lot of great stuff is coming out of that.
Well, your dad's already told us, and we would agree that you're definitely the smartest guy in the room, but and your dad might be the number 2. But tell him a little about, for example, one of you guys on staff, Keith Bishop, man, and his background. I mean, he is just crazy smart, isn't he?
Oh yeah, Keith, man. You want to get into a deep dive conversation into the weeds, Keith is the guy to do it, or to write those custom analytics. His background in the Navy with his nuclear side, he is unbelievable when you get him writing analytics and diagnosing how buildings should be run and predictive analysis. It's unbelievable the stuff that we have coming out of our analytics.
Yeah, we'll speak a bit more about that because, I think we just all assume if we collect the data, that's analytics. But
Mhm.
I mean, for an owner out there who might be considering analytics, I mean, it's a lot more than that. In other words, I mean, a lot of people can give you a nice, graphic dashboard
Mhm.
and bring the data points in, but that's not really where the magic happens, is it?
No, you know that used to be the hard part, is getting the data out. I think there's a lot of people available to do that nowadays. It's doing the live analytics, right? The analytics on the edge, not doing data dumps and historically. Who wants to know the problems that they missed a week ago? I want to know predictively to stop the problems that are going to happen the next day or the next week or next month. I want to know predictively what my energy spend is going to be in the next week, based off of weather. I want my building to start reacting to the way people are using it, to the way, like a Nest thermostat. You go up and turn up the Nest thermostat to 68 at night before you go to bed, and you turn it back up at 72 in the morning. That thermostat learns. It learns your routines. You might turn it down again at noon. People are starting to expect these things out of their facilities and their buildings and their commercial spaces, and that's what analytics is going to do for us. And that's where analytics is going to, with it on the edge, and true live analytics where the outcome comes in and you can do reactive or make changes to your facility based off of those.
Well, Jason, there's so many things I want to ask you, because again, it's always fun to talk to you because you got a passion for the job you do. I mean, it's so wonderful to see somebody in our industry serve as a role model, like you did with our Young Gun program, and then to be so sharing, and then to have a company that's so formidable. But it's got to be difficult even for you to keep up with all the trends. What's probably the most exciting thing that's happened to you since, let's say, the HR 2017, January? How do you keep track of everything, and what has caught your attention as being one of the most relevant developments?
Most relevant developments, I'd have to say, is Intel joining the Haystack community, as well as Tritium.
Yeah,
That's huge.
yeah, they became a founding
Really,
member. Yes,
yep.
Well, Jason,
Yeah.
why is Haystack, for our listeners who might not know, why is Haystack relevant? Why should they even care?
Haystack's relevant because it's a standards basis. BACnet is a great thing for our industry, but Haystack is just that next level to bring disparate systems and naming conventions and tagging, and normalization to our industry, which is an industry where everybody calls the same widget something different. So it's a great thing. It's a breath of fresh air, and it's a great community to be a part of.
Okay, so I want to sort of bring this back to, for the owners. We have so many owners that listen, and so many engineers that listen in. But the relevance for a guy like you, in other words, if you've got controllers and on all the pieces and they're tagged with Haystack, generally, what's that doing in terms of reducing your cost to do a job?
Oh, if we walk in and we see a job that's been Haystack tagged, and you can do a query now for, give me equips that are zones. Now I don't need to know the naming convention going in. I can start querying the database and the systems, and start finding things based off the tagging architecture. So if I do zones, or I take a look through the whole system for space temperatures with set points. It's really easy. I don't need to know how the company name things or anything. It's at my fingertips, ready to go.
So again, the pushback, I mean, to get this out there, because it is becoming accepted at a very rapid rate. But if you're a consulting engineer, would you ask it, or in the specification, the controllers or the devices are Haystack compliant? And if you're a user, would you also want to have that be part of your criteria for selecting your controls and your equipment?
Yeah, definitely. That's something definitely at the network level controller. That is a Haystack controller is a great thing. That's something that we're pushing with our end user customers, is to make sure when they go out to bid, that the commodity TC work is done and brought back to that network controller, haystacked and ready to go. The biggest thing that we're finding is the understanding of Haystack. So to get the training out there and train the TC contractors of what Haystack is, and how it works and how it helps.
So that'd be a pretty good question. If you're an owner and you're interviewing consulting engineers or you're interviewing integrators, maybe a great question would be, so tell me about your experience with Haystack. What do you think of Haystack? And if they start saying needle in a haystack or something like that, they're probably not with the program, right?
Yeah, that'll definitely separate the
the
men
wheat
from
the
boys.
shaft, so to speak, right? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
just
exactly.
let's give Haystack its due shout out. Then, so the 2017 Haystack Connect is going to be in Tampa, Florida, May 8th through the 10th. They're interested in speakers. There's a call for speakers on that website. You can get that at www.haystackconnect.org. And they also are looking for sponsors. So another thing you had mentioned offline, Jason, was that Tritium now has a buy-in to the Haystack.
Yeah, which is great. With Tritium being one of the best data aggregators in the industry, it's great to see them a part of Haystack and a part of that community. It'll just bring a lot of strength and stability to it. It's great to see.
So, serious question for you here, because we know you're a young gun, and for our listeners who might not know, young guns are younger people in the industry. We're trying to attract younger people into the industry. And so here's my serious question for you. Is it more fun being interviewed by me and Kenny, or more fun being interviewed by young gun Rob Allen, who works for us?
That's kind of putting me on the spot there.
Yeah, that's what we do. It's called investigative reporting.
Yeah, that's right. You can't knock an interview with anybody from the Control Trends.
There you go.
From stable, but getting you guys 1-to-1 or 1-to-3 here in an interview is always fun and always enjoyable.
Yeah,
to see what's going on in the industry.
So for young people out there who might be thinking about, doing IT and going to a cubicle farm or whatever, I mean, what does our industry offer? I mean, if you're a young person out there and you're listening, you're trying to decide to be a doctor, a lawyer, a porn star, or get in the controls industry, sort of what's the advantages of each one coming in our industry versus those other fields?
Yeah, there's so much growth that can happen within our industry. It's an industry that's been around for 20 plus years, but the speed that it's moving in and the growth that can happen and how innovative you can be is amazing. It's so much fun. You can bring an idea in 1 week and pump out a product in a month or so, and it's great.
Well, I think as you mentioned too, used to be we were kind of, Eric, I think you initially hit on it. We were one-dimensional. We were very proprietary, very, dominant. Once we got something, it was very difficult to share more information with anybody else. It was a control thing. Now we've seen this industry in the 20-some years or 30 years evolve into the most open. The IoT of things right now is happening within our industry. So I think we finally got enough of the things that make people interested in a career. The challenges, the income, certainly the revenue paid in our industry is commensurate with everybody. We just don't have a popular industry because there's not been enough, breaking
Hot
stories.
chicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not sexy, right?
Exactly.
Well,
but,
we're working on that part, though. Your dad is a big help in that domain, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, Eddie,
Yeah.
I think we now look at an industry where we do analytics. We have a lot of interesting aspects about our industry that are going to take people that are in their teens and going through technical training schools and going into IT related courses thinking, hey, HVAC and controlling equipment, it's almost like it's not as, of course, on the same level as NASA, but controlling a gigantic chiller plant, or these, staging boilers, that's a pretty cool thing to do. So once you learn enough about the mechanical aspects to it, now you've got some exciting, computer IoT based programming and interesting things for people, don't you think?
Yeah, and you even see large institutions, higher ed, using their facilities as living labs, right? They want to tie into these systems and the analytics and the data that we're retrieving from these facilities to do research papers on.
Sure.
It's nowhere can you get a 1,000,000 square foot building and have 60,000 data points live to you other than in our industry. Right.
Right. Well, and of course, too, the other thing is if you really want to make a difference, and I mean, because a lot of people, the millennials, they want to make the planet a better place. I mean, this is where you can have a direct impact on the carbon footprint and have people have better work environments and that. And then if you're on the dark side, according to Fred Gordy now, I mean, you can become a cyber pirate. I mean, we're hearing tales of being able to hack somebody's thermostat, in Canada, for example, when it's freezing cold, and turn the heat off and say $1,000 for us to turn your heat back on. So is that how you supplement your income, Jason?
No,
don't answer
not.
that. Don't answer.
Yeah.
But the cybersecurity is another big aspect. I know you guys are sort of at the forefront of that, and I know you guys are very, very capable at protecting systems. What should owners and engineers know about protecting their systems? Because obviously that's another trend Kenny and I've been tracking is the cyber attacks through the building automation systems.
Yeah, and I think the cyber attacks happen when you've got your contractors and your teams that are taking care of the BAS and systems within your facility. They play the hide and seek from the IT department. So rather than coming out and saying, "Hey, we have these systems attached to our internet, and these ports are accessible and stuff like that," it's if they don't ask, we don't tell, kind of thing. That's why like I said, the early 2000s, we brought on our IT department so that we could hit those conversations head on. So that we took an IT approach on securing our systems back then. Today, we still use a Cisco product to do call home strategies and remote access and stuff. But it's IT security has been an industry for as long as building in BAS systems have been IoT systems. We got to stop reinventing the wheel on this and just go back to the core of IT security and follow that. That's a major thing.
I got you. Well, Jason, I tell you what, we're kind of getting up against it here a little bit time wise. Kenny, do you have another question? I got one more for Jason after you.
Well, actually, I just I always like to hear what excites you. What's again? Where do you see?
No, you're stealing my question, dude. Don't do that. Don't go there. Stop. This is my question. All right, I'm going to frame it a little bit differently. Okay, here you go. So, Jason, looking out 4 or 5 years, describe what building automation controls and systems integrators and systems integration is going to be like, say, 4 or 5 years from now. How's that, Kenny?
Well, that's kind of where I was going, but I wanted to make a point, though, is like you said earlier, we're getting more comfortable.
Kenny, you just stepped all over my question, buddy.
Hey, Eric,
make your point after Jason.
Once you give me the mic, you can't take it back, man.
No. Let Jason answer, then you can make your point. Okay, is that fair enough? All right. All right. This is like Family Feud on ControlTalk.
There you go.
All right, Jason, go ahead. Okay, Jay's gonna make a point after you make yours.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years. Man, I hope we don't have to worry about proprietary systems and stuff like that. Everything's plug and play, like USB printers within our industry. I think hopefully it comes sooner than that. Within the next year, 2 years, I see everything to be pushed to converged IT network. Every air handler will have an Ethernet drop. VAV, we're already headed there. PoE lighting, we're there. It's expanding on that and getting a higher adoption rate within that. It's great to see. Smarts at the edge, analytics on the edge. It's all great stuff.
Okay, so Kenny, before you make your point, I got one more question for Jason. So if that truly comes to fruition, like you're saying, do you have any suggestions for careers for me and Kenny after that happens?
Well, I think, Jason, you hit the nail on the head again. And we're not doomsday, preachers, but we see our industry is evolving at a rate of never before have we seen cycles go so fast and products get implemented and put into the mainstream and be accepted. I think you're right. And I think it comes with a generation. We always talk about tipping points and pendulum swings and different things, but I think what's happening is your generation is going to come in with such high levels of expectancies and such a willingness to open up and optimize everything. It's just going to be a natural assumption where our generation probably is the last generation, the fleeting generation that was brought up where you don't do that. I always get this security thing where it's somebody says you shouldn't have open standards in security because that's basically fundamentally incorrect. Everybody should have a protocol or way to communicate within their system that people can't hack, and there is no standard. So I'm seeing that list disappear. But when Eric had mentioned that you have to become comfortable with concepts of working with people that have a good, solid expertise, and instead of everybody trying to recreate their own version of the expertise, we're going to see centralized support centers like what you're willing to do at Hepta and the panel shop. And because if you have the bandwidth and the ability to help more than just your own business interests, it allows other people to start developing expertises and using your expertise. We're going to see this whole integrity-based economy really take a new shape in our industry. I think that's kind of where I was going with. Would you see that happening in 4 or 5 years?
I hope so, because all that will do is raise the owner's expectations of what they're getting, and realize that a fully integrated single pane of glass for an owner isn't a white elephant. Right? It's not a dream. It's happening. So find the right partners, find the right team to get that done.
There you go. Jason, I tell you what, one of the things we love about you is you're a very modest guy, but 30 under 30 in Detroit. So you're well known. One of the, I can't say at the beginning, one of the bright lights in our industry. So man, we feel fortunate to know you, man, and we really appreciate you taking time to come on and hang out with us a little bit. You get more from Jason at heptasystems.com. Check them out. If you're a consulting engineer, these guys can offer some great insights. Hell, if you're an integrator and you got a job you need some help on, these guys are great. We can attest to that. And if you need a pre-wired panel, the panel Shopee, SHOPPE.com. Check those guys out for that too. And actually, they'll refer you back to your local distributor most likely. And buddy, thanks for taking the Sunday morning to talk with us, brother. Yeah,
it's been great. It's always refreshing.
One last question. How do you like the Control Trends Awards this year?
Oh, it was great. A lot of surprises and.
Hey, and you caught that mistake on that card. We had our own little, a Grammy or Hollywood awards, but you were smart. You played it off and said, hey, they weren't on the front of the envelope there. It was a technical glitch.
So your dad said we should not have any more models. He said, forget the models next year.
Oh, so is he volunteering?
He is. Because now we had the women.
Perfect.
We had the woman of the year. We got to have male models. So we're thinking Keith Bishop maybe too, man. But he can't talk. All right, brother. Take care.
Right.
Appreciate you, Jason.
All right, see you, Jason.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Andy, man, great stuff from Jason Houck, man. Super, super good guy. And wow, how informative is he?
Sure is. I tell you, it's a lot of fun. The industry is becoming more exciting because these young guys coming into our industry are really changing the face of it. Literally changing the what people expect, what users expect now. So, we're going to see a lot more of him to come. So he's going to be. Imagine him after a 30-year career in HVAC, and how about his projections for 4 or 5 years? That's pretty exciting too, isn't it?
Oh, it's very, very exciting, Ken. Very exciting. And of course, somebody else is very exciting too. I mean, where you get the facts. We call this the Joe Friday sort of the old dragnet metaphor. Just the facts, ma'am. CABA those guys and what they do in terms of studies and collecting data. So tell us a bit about our next post regarding CABA, Kenny.
Well, congratulations to Ron Zimmer and the folks at CABA and the sponsors that support them. Ron Zimmer, CABA president and CEO, says that there's was a real need to have a research study for the range of opt-in and technical and advisory research done to provide the industry stakeholders with collaborative research and R&D opportunities about the impact of intelligent Internet of Things on intelligent buildings. So it's very interesting. It's very in depth. It's probably the seminal document now that you can do because the research. To invest in. I don't think these things are free. This is big league stuff here. You have to I believe you buy into it at different membership levels, but the research report provides actionable data relevant to all segments of the intelligent building value chain, including but not limited to building owners, technology manufacturers, builders, developers, integrators, installers, service providers, insurance company, industry associations, and utility companies. So this is a mother lode of information regarding IoT and how it's going to impact the intelligent buildings. And its projections go up to year 2025, where we see 70 billion IoT connected devices, that annual shipments will have reached 18 billion devices per annum. So we're going to see this IoT industry just keep growing and growing and growing. And this is a study done to examine the impact within our building automation world and our intelligent buildings. It's great stuff.
Yeah, Ron Zimmer's a great guy, and they do some good stuff. We see him and interview him quite a bit. You can go on Control Trends and see several interviews with Ron where he talks about CABA and what they do. But they're definitely worth checking out because, as one of my teachers used to say, nothing's obvious to the uninformed. If you want to be informed, CABA is a great source for you, as well as our good friend Ken Sinclair, and his March issue is out. The theme, engaging satisfaction and wellness. Sounds like a good practice to me, Kenny.
Well, Ken Sinclair he's just a smart guy. He really is. And, it's fun to work with him. We had a great chance to go offline, and then we actually did an interview with him with where he's going with everything. In other words, this isn't just random thought processes. This is actually an ongoing conversation he's having with the industry. It's the interior of his mind all the way to, other people that are commenting on what he's saying and how it's a center of mass. We're getting a lot of people getting really excited about what's going on here, and for me it begins with the contextualization. Tree Sullivan brought us online with that. When you have technology everywhere, it's so ubiquitous. Now you can take that technology that's there and utilize it to greater advantage. So and we saw how comfy was the contextualization, where that every smart device is a sensor. Every person now with their exact location, they can immediately interface. I'm cold, I'm hot, I'm comfortable. So Ken's taken this now. So the March theme is evolved from the February theme. So he says, engaging satisfaction wellness. We need to get more active in understanding and processing the new user metrics because we are in prime position to take advantage of the benefits. So his insight is, I'm in awe of the power bestowed upon us and our potential as an industry to have a significant impact on the wellness and overall satisfaction of occupants of our automated, connected, smart living buildings. Increasing satisfaction and wellness by engagement means creating a dialogue path that flows both ways and is the first giant step for our industry's entry into the productivity puzzle and the lucrative payback. So using the metrics 330, 300, how do you think that fits into play?
Well, I tell you what, Kenny, I was just going to say, why care? But it's critical, and the 330, 300 is absolutely it, because this just gets back to the money, following the money. Okay, so if you're a distributor, you're a consulting engineer, you're an integrator, and you're not paying attention to this dynamic about engaging satisfaction and wellness, you're missing out. Because we've been to like Realcomm, Ibicon enough to listen to the building owners and what they're focused on. Okay, and this gets back to the $330, $300 rule, which is basically if you're a real estate guy and you're a real estate professional, you're spending roughly $3 a square foot on energy, depending on where you are. You're spending $30 to put stuff in there like desk and lights and equipment and stuff like that. But your tenants are spending $300 a square foot or more for the people that are working in that space. So now if you're a real estate guy and you can market your building and say, hey, your people are going to be more productive because we've got the studies to show it based on the fact that they got satisfaction, they got wellness, the lighting's right, the temperature's right, the conditions are great to be more productive, and all this is documented, then that's a
Bingo.
huge piece. So this has got to be part of your dialogue. And I'm talking to the consulting engineers, distributors, and integrators. Has got to be part of your dialogue to the building owners, because that's what they're focused on. If you're talking about saving energy, they're kind of going, yes, so what? Kind of, right? Because energy is relatively inexpensive, and definitely inexpensive relative to the $300 piece of it. So the energy savings is the bonus piece. Okay, so kind of like we were talking with Jason about a great qualifying question to find out if you're dealing with somebody in the know is ask them what they think of haystack, the haystack protocol. If they don't know what it is, they're pretty much not in the know. Well, if you're in our industry, you're not familiar with the $3,300 rule, and you're talking to integrators or consulting engineers in the know, you're going to kind of get vetted out as somebody that's not on top of what's really important to them. At least that's my opinion.
Well, yeah, it's an acid test now of being contemporary in the industry. And again, we talk about the lightning speed that things are happening. Well, what Ken's saying too is that we can use social media. It's all around us. And if we use the social media to get the feedback from the occupants inside these maintained environments, and you get them involved, not only do you increase that 300, their productivity, but we're finally getting some qualitative metrics that are coming out from various companies that have invested tremendous time and money into saying, all right, if you have control over the lighting, what exactly do you have control over? The well-being, you can actually increase healing times. You can reduce, some of the impediments to learning. You can make people more comfortable, so they're more productive. And you put the lighting together with the temperature and humidity controls, you get a happier space, and it leads to a more efficient space too. We had a very interesting breakout at one of the Realcomm sessions was when a guy said, look, the $3, okay, so you do a great job with building automation. You save me 50% of $3. That's $1.50. But if you can save me, 10% of the 300 metric, and you make my keep my buildings occupied by having that just total automated control that really interacts and has a great user interface with my occupants. Now we're talking. Now we're interested. So
right. Well, and it also gets right back to our conversation with Jason Houck about analytics. I mean, it's not just data; it's how you use it. And those analytics, if applied properly, are going to really allow you to hone in on that satisfaction quotient, right, and get that part right, and have people be more productive. So the analytics only I'm going to make another statement, Kenny. Controlling stuff only makes sense if there's a direct result that can come back to a monetary reward. And I think more so than ever, with the control systems we have and the analytics and the people we have that now are able to put these things together, we can really effectuate that 300 piece of the puzzle like we weren't able to 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. So it's a huge, it's a trend set. It's a trend shift, I think. And again, like we said before, if you're a systems integrator and you're not up to speed necessarily on the analytics yet and how to use it, companies like Jason's can work with you. We got a couple other people, AI, Jeff out of AI, and those guys do the same sort of things. There are a handful of people that are really on top of this, and most of them are focused on that higher end work, so they don't want to step on you doing the automation controls portion of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head again on how fast we're selling different things from a different cart. Not only have our things that we sell and market for the investment people make in their building automation system, that's all changed, but also how we sell it has changed. The vehicles that we sell it with are not going to be the same ones we do. It's not so when you have people like a master systems integrator who has incredible capabilities and has the ability to expand, has much more bandwidth, and when you're trying to work from a systems integrator towards the services provided by a master systems integrator, the limitations we have of resources and the talent that we have in our industry right now is going to dictate new relationships, and it's going to be a different world here. But it's a lot of fun. I think Ken St. Clair hit nail on the head again with this ongoing theme, and so we're going to learn by it. And again, it's turning into be one of the top trends. The metrics, the 330, 300 metrics are a trend that's looks like it's just going to get bigger and better this year. And then some great other reads on the March articles. You have Wellness by the Comfy team. You've got If You Spec It, They Will Come by Brad White. We have a BASSG open source project, Builder Plus, with Tree Sullivan and Alper Alsmeiser. And then we have Beyond Smart Grid. There's Jack McGowan again, the prolific writer. And then I heard that Memori's got some really, it's Jim McHale, so is a very, very bright guy too, transformation of performance software. So great read, go to automatedbuildings.com and you'll be handsomely rewarded.
Well, Kenny, I got to tell you something. You're talking about social media, man, and I'm starting to revolt against it, man. I mean, it was when it was cool, nobody else was doing it. So I'm holding up, like, for example, I'm just getting over the digital thing. So most people have digital cameras, man. This is my camera right now. This thing is from the 1950s, right? Lens reflex, shoots film. So, yeah, I mean, so they're going to be, I don't know why I bring that up other than just to change things up a little bit and show everybody my cool camera. So
let me see it. I can't see it. So it's off. There we go.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's an old timer.
It's an old timer for sure. So you sort of look down through here and you take the picture and there you go. But yeah, buddy. Well, so I tell you what, let's go from there to kind of a really cool, what I thought was a cool video, which was we caught up with KMC Controls. Talk about a company that's sort of the best of the old and the best of the new. I think KMC Controls really, really epitomizes that. We caught up with their entire team at the 2017 AHR booth.
KMC, again, has just a different take on stuff. I like their style. You know, it's an American company. They really grew homegrown controls in the middle of the country, and they were silent champions. They produced so many products that were relabeled by other OEMs that nobody knew how the quality and everything built by KMC. The warranty from the smallest product to the most complicated product has they're so proud of their products and they're so well manufactured that they put a 5-year warranty on everything. But they also have great people because it takes an extraordinary cast of players to be able to compete on a global basis in the industry that we're in. So when we got to meet KMC and meet the guy led by Richard Newberry and of course Eric Kruder, it's just a lot of fun.
Matthew McConaughey is a big KMC fan too. You'll see in the video, Matt McConaughey is there, and he drives Lincoln Continentals, and his control choice is KMC Controls. So what can you say?
Well, I just give KMC a lot of credit, and they're very progressive, as you can see in the background there. Richard Newberry is being interviewed by Eric Stromquist, but you got Dell and Intel on the same board. They work together with these two major giant behemoth
and they won the light commercial systems of the year, and they are really right in the middle of that race to the small space, the trend we've been talking about, where the control systems are getting so price competitive, and companies like KMC are really focused on the smaller buildings that up to now have not been able to have a building automation control system. So they're right in the heart of that. And all this is done, Kenny, from a little town called New Paris, Indiana, man, which if you go up there, it's a great town, but it's a small town. And right in the middle of this little small town, the Midwest, you got this powerhouse KMC Controls. So good stuff. And they're great folks. They support the Control Trends Awards, and we always appreciate people that do that. And they make great products.
Yep. There's Tim Vogel in your interview with him. Again, they've taken a giant step on their website to really educate and market well their products too. So they have a great website and they have a great vision. And I think they're just turning the bend. I think they're going to get better, and I think they have a great future because they're staying on top of IoT. They really have, as you see again on their slides, they're not afraid to take the new technology and really kick the tires with it. So they've got they can play in many fields too. They're really good with BACnet. They're very good with Niagara, and they have other options. The KMC Commander won the small light commercial building solution. It was, just they're doing well. So congratulations, KMC, and again, thank you for being a sponsor. And we will see you next year. We'll see you next year.
We mentioned with our interview with Jason Houck talking about Project Haystack that Intel has joined as a founding member. So Kenny's got a post up on that. You can go read that if you want to. He's got the press release there. And then that's going to bring us to our final post, Kenny, which is another Video Awards highlight. The 2016 Control Trends Awards Best Tech Support Person of the Year and the Small Manufacturer of the Year.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of fun talking about the people parts of our industry with SK Fu. I've known SK now probably for 5, maybe 6 years. He's come to Pittsburgh.
What does SK stand for? Do you know?
Yeah, I do, but I'll look it up here and I'll get it to you before we're done with his post. But it's a tricky one. In fact, SK Fu, he did that to westernize his name. His real name is Sam Kung Fu. No, it's not. It's I'm gonna take. I have it written down somewhere because I did ask him because that's a kind of cool name, SK Fu. It sounds
it's
like
not as cool as Sam Kung Fu.
But he has several names, and the way he explained it to us was that we in the West don't really understand how they do their naming conventions and where he's from in Malaysia, because they have.
A lot of times they'll have instead of the father's surname, they have a combination of the mother and the father's Like the mother's maiden name and the father's name.
Something like that, right? Yeah. And so I apologize for being.
Well, let's not worry about that. Nobody cares. I don't think anybody really cares so much about it because it will just from now on be Sam Kung Fu Fu. Okay. S Kung Fu Fu. That'll be his new nickname. And, but needless to say, EasyIO is one of those companies, Kenny, we talk about that is just always on the leading edge. I think they won 4 awards this year. We'll be getting to their highlight videos
all right,
the next
wait
week
a second.
or so.
I found it. You challenged me on that. So
I didn't challenge you.
Yes, you did. So
you got it wrong. It's Sam Kung Fu Fu.
It's SHAHRUL.
You can't even pronounce it, man.
It's Sharul Nizam Fu is his name. Nizam and then FOO. So it's his.
All right, I'm going to go to Google Translate real quick. Okay, that translates to Sam Kung Fu Fu, Kenny. Okay. Well, let's talk about what a great job he does because, he's Kung Fu Fu. And
I'll tell you what. What's fun about it is if you do the training program, ultimately you're going to meet SKFU, and if you do get involved in EasyIO, with some of the challenges you can get with integration and some of the, stuff happens. So you need somebody to help you get through, some kind of a snag or whatever. Invariably, you'll meet with SKFU because he's the sharpest knife in the drawer, and he loves what he does. He tells me when he goes home, because of the time difference. He spends 2 hours on the couch with his computer, and all he does is review the history or the histronics that day of the service or the inquiries and the things that he can do to catch up. But he loves working on technical stuff while he watches TV. That's how he relieves, that's how he winds down. So imagine a guy that doesn't, who doesn't
sleep. He does tech support
calls
and watches TV. So listen, when you reach out, if you need tech support from EasyIO, which you probably won't because they do a great job, if you reach out to Kung Fu Fu, tell him Karate Kenny sent you, okay?
Oh dear.
All right. Well, let's roll it over and hit Contemporary Controls as a small manufacturer of the year. And these guys are just becoming more and more relevant, Kenny. They always have. But I tell you what, I think their new gal, Kathleen Thomas, is just doing a great job. But talk a bit about KMC, buddy. I mean, not KMC. I'm sorry, Contemporary Controls, because you and I both use them and their devices, and we're very appreciative also of the great training videos they do. Their BACnet series we've got links to it on Control Trends. Just type in BACnet training, you'll find we put the BACnet series up. They just do great training videos. George Thomas, who's a Hall of Fame member of the Control Trends Awards, is a real giver. Again, another one of these companies, I think they're the best of the old and best of the new. Maybe that's a new theme, something old, something new. Because you got George, who's been around for a while, but yet they're very innovative. And that actually, Kenny, that is a new theme. If you think about it, we're seeing more and more of that best of the old, best of the new as got these great older folks like George Thomas who have been around, and then you get, innovative people coming on the team.
Well, and we had mentioned about the Hall of Fame and BACnet capturing Michael Newman and also Hans Kranz and now Steve Bushby. But George Thomas, his contributions for BACnet and all things networked weren't far behind. And of course, George Thomas is also a member of the Hall of Fame. So it's with great pride that we talk about these guys that were the pioneers of our industry. And George Thomas, the story about him, when I read his biography and was doing some research on George, he was a true, like Steve Jobs type. He started out in the basement of his house tinkering on electronics and was so fascinated by how it worked that he did the hard way. He went and got an engineering degree and then he basically took the lead in getting these protocols accepted and understood by the masses, the people, the engineering communities, and then the actually the manufacturers. And he was very generous. This guy is truly an open platform, open systems champion. And if you go to the website, you see how they give. They have the support that they give us, the technologies they give us, and if you were trying to bring somebody on board and have them explain what the BACnet's all about and how you've got the different layers and what they mean and what the receive and send and how the actual protocol works. Contemporary Controls gives you no charge on their website, but they have great products. I don't think people realize how much they manufacture and how many people are using their stuff to do the networking and don't even realize it. But they do have a great product line as well, and the controllers have been nominated many times. But this year they finally got the recognition they deserved for their technical support. Well done.
Well, they sure did, Kenny. They sure did. And great folks. And I tell you what, Kenny, I think it's time for us to hop off here, buddy. So it's been another great week on ControlTalk Now, your smart buildings videocast and podcast. A special thanks to our guest this week, young gun Jason Houck from Hepta Systems. Be sure to check them out. And with that, Kenny, I'm hoping, man, you'll get to next. I know your eye's still hurting a little bit, and there's nothing worse. So I'm Eric Stromquist. He is Ken Smyers. So we appreciate you tuning in. Have a great week. Be bold and stay in control.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers. Sorry, buddy. I got another one of my old timing cameras because I'm dead.